2 people are dead. 3 officers are now on leave. This after a deadly police shooting that started with a chase early this morning. It's 4 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Green.
And I'm Kim Christensen. Police say the 2 suspects shot at them first. This started in Thornton. It ended in Lakewood. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us outside Thornton Police. You're going to walk us through what happened here, Janelle.
Tom and Kim, a police pursuit that began here in Thornton around 3 this morning brought officers several miles away to Lakewood. And like you said, that pursuit ended with 2 dead and 3 officers now under investigation. Thornton PD says the situation began while monitoring a suspicious vehicle near East 84th Avenue and Washington Street. Police say officers followed the car into Lakewood to a parking lot at Alameda and Sheridan. This is a busy area with lots of businesses, including restaurants, a grocery store, and gas station. Officers say one of the passengers fired a gun at them. Law enforcement chased the vehicle 2.5 miles to 2nd and Garrison. Police say 2 people got out of the car with at least one armed with a gun. Police have not said if the suspects opened fire at that second scene. Officers shot and killed them both. 9 News spoke to a neighbor nearby who says his dog woke him up to the noisy response from police.
Came out the side or front door. I can't remember. I think it came out the front door. And what I saw was probably about 15 police vehicles. And then I could see 2 or 3 more police SUVs coming in at a high rate of speed. And I could see just from my vantage point here on the porch, them getting out a stretcher.
Another neighbor we spoke to says that she heard about 6 gunshots outside of her home early this morning. The Jefferson County Critical Incident Response Team is now taking over the investigation. According to the Thornton Police Pursuit Policy, pursuits are strongly discouraged and are only limited to incidents including violent felonies that could include an attempted or a completed incident of bodily harm. Live in Thornton, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
It's a good little distance to go. And as you said, all these neighbors, they heard it when they woke up in a neighborhood that's pretty occupied.
Absolutely. And those teams did stay on scene, or the law enforcement investigators did stay on scene well into this morning. They were out there still at 10 o'clock, even though the situation, like I said, happened around 3 this morning.
Okay. What a story. Lot to sort out there. Thank you, Janelle.
It's been a blue sky day in the metro area. Another beautiful one. High temperatures up above 70 today. Of course, you know things are going to change. When we get that nice, it means some other weather's heading your way soon, right?
That's right. After all, it's the last day of April. Can you believe that?
No. Yes and no. Because parts of winter felt really long.
Agreed.
And parts of, even when it was spring.
Agreed. And it's May tomorrow. And, they say April showers bring May flowers. But we may have some more showers before we get the flowers, and those showers may be in the form of snow. Not down here in the mountains, but we are tracking a storm that will be here in about 24 hours time. And I know you look outside, you're like, how can that be? It's beautiful. The trees are starting to bud out there, and it's a nice day. Nice unless you're in northern Colorado, where the winds are really gusty right now. Erie, Longmont, up to the Colorado-Wyoming line. Temperatures comfortable, 70 at DIA, 83 in Lamar currently, 68 in Fort Collins. Let's talk about that wind. At last check, this Cheyenne gust was over 50 miles per hour. Gusty winds out of the west going into Kimball and Sidney, out to Sterling, coming off the foothills into Broomfield, Blackhawk, Boulder, and Longmont. A lot of people commenting on the wind, which will start to decrease around sunset. Next storm kind of taking aim at us from the northwest, the leading edge. We have a few little high clouds here and a few light mountain snow showers, but we're also tracking the potential for some severe weather tonight. Minneapolis, Omaha into Wichita, that will certainly impact travel for those of you headed out of Colorado. But why leave? It's beautiful. Not much to show you here on the radar for tonight. So the severe weather threat will be east of us tonight. With the arrival of that storm tomorrow, we have scattered storms possible late in the day, with a couple of stronger storms likely in extreme eastern Colorado. So about this time tomorrow night, maybe a rain shower, a little rumble of thunder. We're going to talk much more about it coming up in weather.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. The Colorado Agriculture Commission has approved an emergency rule regarding cattle in our state after a cow tested positive for avian flu last week. The commission met in an emergency meeting this morning. They approved a rule change that follows a federal order from the USDA. It requires any lactating dairy cattle to test negative for avian flu at least 7 days before moving across state lines. Doctors say monitoring the flu in cattle can help prevent it from spreading to other animals or even humans.
avian influenza is a potential zoonotic disease. And so continuing to monitor and diagnose these herds and these flocks that are impacted is really important to not only protect our food security, but our public health.
The emergency rule currently only applies to cattle used for primary purpose of milk production. So far, Colorado's only confirmed one case of avian flu in the northeast part of the state. They did not specify where.
New information today as protesters continue to camp on the Auraria campus downtown. Organizers with the group Students for a Democratic Society did meet with campus leaders for about an hour today, talking about how to possibly move forward peacefully. Campus officials say they offered to provide sunshades to protesters and to create a peaceful protest space if the group would remove their tents. Well, the students turned down that offer, saying they have no plans to leave until their demands are met. The two sides plan to continue that dialogue, looking for ways to move forward. Of course, the Auraria campus, not the only place dealing with these protests. Tensions remain very high at some universities nationwide, with police and school administrators cracking down on students protesting the Israeli ongoing military operation in Gaza.
NBC's George Solis has the latest from Columbia University in New York City, where some protesters occupied a building on campus overnight.
Things here at Columbia University as tense as they ever were after those protesters stormed Hamilton Hall, essentially seizing the building, and have been in there now for several hours. About 200 or so protesters at last check. Here outside of campus, restricted access only, one way in or out. Security here outside of the gates, only essential personnel and certain students allowed on campus. You can imagine very frustrating for those trying to get in to complete final exams ahead of commencement, which at this point is unclear if it'll happen here on campus or some other location. And keep in mind, all of this unfolding after that 2 p.m. deadline yesterday provided by the university, asking for those pro-Palestinian demonstrators to break up their encampment and voluntarily leave. Well, that came and went, those students calling the university's bluff, and now again taking control of this building. The NYPD has a presence here outside of the campus, but at this point they are not going on campus, and that is from the university saying they have worked with them, especially during this siege of the building, but at this point no plans to go on campus at this time. All of this, of course, unfolding as these campus clashes with police continue nationwide. Up to this point, more than 1,000 arrests from coast to coast as these protests continue. Back to you.
NBC Universal is planning to pay a cool $2.5 billion for the rights to broadcast a package of NBA games. The Wall Street Journal first reported the news earlier today. If accepted, the rights would change hands from TNT, which paid an average of $1.2 billion for its current deal. Now, this follows the end of an exclusive negotiating window that was between TNT parent company Warner Brothers and the NBA, and they did not reach an agreement. Warner Brothers has had NBA broadcasting rights since 1984. Meanwhile, Disney's ESPN has had its own set of rights since 2002, and that's when NBC last had rights to broadcast the NBA. So things could be changing in the future, not this year.
I think the most immediate impact for many basketball fans would be the potential that inside the NBA, the show with Shaq and Chuck and Kenny and Ernie would go away, because that show—
That is a fantastic show.
—is a great show, night in, night out. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, because you have to watch that. No
well, yeah,
matter where
normally
you catch
the
your
game
games.
ends, you turn off the TV.
But not with them.
No, with them
Not
you
with
stick
them.
around for another 20, 30 minutes.